It was the first WrestleMania of the Monday Night Wars. With Ted Turner's checkbook in hand, Eric Bischoff was luring stars away left and right. In fact, weeks before WrestleMania 12 would take place, two men who wrestled for the IC and WWF belts at Mania 11, Razor Ramon and Diesel, gave their notice to Vince McMahon. Aside from The Undertaker, the only two true headliners left in town were champion Bret Hart and soon-to-be champion Shawn Michaels. Relying on pure wrestling as opposed to the pomp and pageantry of an era gone by, the two would clash in a 60-minute Iron Man match for the gold. It was the boyhood dream come true. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 fascinating facts about WrestleMania 12. Number 10, Vince wanted no celebrity involvement at the show. Despite pushing Lawrence Taylor and Pamela Anderson to the front lines of WrestleMania 11's marketing blitz, the show only did 340,000 buys, down nearly 20% from the previous year. As a result, McMahon suddenly found himself cured of his celebrity obsession. Despite the event taking place in Anaheim, part of the Los Angeles metropolitan area, rather than waste good money on stars that might not actually aid the bottom line, McMahon chose to focus on his performers, who would still be there the next day. Number 9, Vader was forced back early while recovering from shoulder surgery. WCW cut the beastly Vader loose in September 1995 following an altercation with Paul Orndorff. The Mastodon had a credible reputation in the eyes of fans, and his overall presence made him a natural hire for McMahon in early 1996. Before debuting in the 96 Rumble match, Vader made it clear to McMahon that he needed shoulder surgery. He was permitted to take time off after filming a suspension angle, but mere weeks after the surgery, Vince wanted Vader to work Yokozuna at WrestleMania 12. That is ice cold. The match ended up being turned into a six-man tag, but Vader was indeed back on the road long before he should have been. Number 8, Razor Ramon was pulled from the show after giving his notice. Scott Hall made no bones about why he jumped to WCW. More money and a lighter schedule. To be fair, he was 37 at the time, and this could have been his last chance at really big money in the business. Problem was, Razor was set to do battle with Intercontinental Champion Goldust at WrestleMania 12 in a Miami street fight. It had even been advertised, but when Hall faxed his resignation to McMahon in February 96, McMahon ordered the match for WrestleMania be scrapped. By coincidence, Hall had failed a drug test around the same time, and WWF used a dirty sample to cast him out. They sent Hall home for 6 weeks, a period that wouldn't end until after Mania, preventing Hall from collecting any form of WrestleMania bonus. Number 7, most of the Hollywood Brawl was filmed 3 weeks before. Technically, it's the earliest a WrestleMania match has ever taken place in a calendar year. Just days after Kevin Nash tendered his own resignation, McMahon was on set at Disney Studios in Burbank, overseeing something completely different from the kid-friendly norm. Rowdy Roddy Piper worked in Ramon's stead against Goldust in what was now a Hollywood backlot brawl. Piper and Goldust pieced together a wild skirmish that would be edited 3 weeks later and aired as part of the WrestleMania broadcast. When the two then pulled up at the arena later in the show following a chase throughout Los Angeles, they were wearing the same bloodied attire they'd worn weeks earlier during filming, and that hadn't been washed in 3 weeks. Yum. Number 6, Piper let Goldust hit him with a car as a favour. Of the several enduring images from the two-part brawl, one that stands out is when Goldust takes the wheel of his gold-painted caddy and proceeds to mow down Piper. Hot Rod took a classic stuntman bump onto the hood, jumping at the right time to create the illusion that Goldust drove straight into his goddamn knees, and it made for a startling visual. According to the 2016 biography of his life, Rowdy, Piper only agreed to perform the risky stunt as a thank you to a certain WWF executive who had offered to babysit his son during filming. That executive? Vince McMahon. Number 5, Linda McMahon brought Ultimate Warrior back. Confused eyebrows were raised in 2014 when it was announced that Linda McMahon, of all people, would induct the Ultimate Warrior into the WWE Hall of Fame. Turns out, she actually played a vital role in his career, aiding his return to the WWF at WrestleMania 12. Warrior had immense respect for Linda during his earlier time with the company, and she flew to Warrior's Arizona home to serve as mediator, knowing that Warrior and her husband were on, let's say, bad terms. With Linda as a go-between, Warrior got the concessions he was looking for, and Vince got the Warrior back for about a few months. Number 4, Gerald Briscoe tried to get Warrior not to kill the pedigree. The Warrior's return was a pretty one-sided affair, making quick work of Hunter Hearst Helmsley after barely 90 seconds. One of the more memorable spots of the match saw Helmsley actually land the pedigree, only for Warrior to immediately stand up, no selling the move. The Junior Clique member went to Gerald Briscoe to voice his concerns on Warrior burying his finish, and the longtime backstage agent implored Helmsley to salvage the pedigree whilst professing that the match should be a little more even. Briscoe even accompanied Helmsley on a return visit to Warrior in an attempt to persuade him towards a more competitive match, but Warrior did not budge. Number 3, Marc Mero left WCW after meeting with Bischoff 3 weeks before WrestleMania. Moments after Helmsley did the honors for Warrior, a familiar face popped up in a backstage interview. It was WCW's Johnny B. Bad, repackaged as Wild Man Marc Mero. In fact, just days earlier, Bad had dropped the company's television title to Lex Luger, the switch taking place a week after Mero's contract expired. Vince was so keen to steal at least one of WCW's stars after they'd taken Hogan, Savage, Luger, and now Hall and Nash that he offered Mero the first guaranteed contract in WWE history. Number 2, 2, Hart and Michaels only laid out their match on the morning of the show. There was little doubt who the two most gifted and brilliant workers on the WWF roster were in 1996, but even Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels had their work cut out for them. In addition to improving their cardio to the point where they could gamely work a 60-minute match, they also had to figure out how they were going to fill that hour. They hadn't really discussed a thing until the day of WrestleMania 12. Hart recalls sitting with Michaels for 3 hours putting together the entire match. Michaels came up with the first 25 minutes, Hart composed the next half hour, and the last 5 were all Shawn's. It was done the day of the show, the goddamn day. And number 1, the controversy about the post-match lack of handshake. There are two sides to every story, especially when Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels are involved. According to Hart, he told Michaels during the planning stages of the match that he wouldn't shake his hand afterward in order to build heat for an eventual rematch between the two. He recalls Michaels having no issue with that proposal. Michaels, on the other hand, pun intended, seemed legitimately pissed off about it in his first book. He accused Hart of refusing to shake his hand and not even speaking to him after the show. Then there came the accusation from Bret that post-match Shawn called Bret a piece of shit and told referee Earl Hebner to tell a hitman to get the f*** out of his ring. Thankfully, as we all know, the issues between Hart and Michaels ended there, and the two now live together and solve mysteries. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.